Joshua, Boland, Burrell, welcome to the Improv London podcast.
Yay!
Cool. So tell us all about Let's Make a Team.
Yes.
What was your inspiration for that? What is it, and what can people expect if they come along?
Wonderful. I started Let's Make a Team as a kind of way to bring improvisers from all different backgrounds, so C3s, your hooplers, your FA, your God, everywhere. There's so many improv places now in London, but I only really knew people from the nursery, so I thought, let's do a one-off improv workshop to get lots of people, put them in the room, and hopefully make everyone see the best side of each other to the point where they think that I want to play with them. And I had a lot of, should we call them weird exercises? Let's say they were weird exercises.
Yeah, don't go with weird.
Yeah, I kind of came up with a lot of different things, stole some things from other things. I ran about, I screamed. It was a lot more performative than a lot of other workshops that I tend to go to. But the main thing about it was that you were caught up in, I like to think, this energy, and I said the word love a lot during that class because it is, you literally, when you're on stage, you're in love with the other person in so many ways. So it kind of started out as this way of bringing together loads of different improvisers from different schools, and ended up as a massive self-help class that some people very much enjoyed, and other people came out and went, that was interesting. But I've got some people who really enjoyed it. It was a really big turnout, which I was really happy with. And then I've started, it's now a monthly thing, so the next one will be on the 3rd, which I do believe is next Thursday. So
yes. So tomorrow, if people are listening on the day this comes out.
Oh, there's a turnover period.
Well, yeah, every Wednesday that's when the episode comes out. Have you not noticed that?
No, I'm just on SoundCloud, so I just watch them on.
Just watch it.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday comes out.
Yeah. So yes, tomorrow.
If you're listening on the day it's come out, but if you're listening in the future, let's not worry about that.
Yeah. So. So the next one will be all about offence, and it's the Donald Trump workshop. That's what I've named it, in the eve of the upcoming election, which does not affect our country in any way, yet for some reason we're all obsessed with it. It'll all be about being offensive on stage and playing with people when you don't know what their limits are or why they came into improv. Because sometimes people can walk up on stage and say something not horrific, but they'll like put something out there just to see how you deal with it, which is in so many ways a dick move. So the real idea behind the workshop is disconnecting the actor from the character, which I'm happy to tell you will be done with sock puppets.
Brilliant.
So I was trying to think of this easy way to have a metaphor between what's the actor doing and what's the character doing, and the easiest way to distinguish the two would be having a sock puppet on. So there's going to be sock puppets. So if you don't like puppetry, stop doing comedy altogether. But if you do come to the workshop, it'll be fun.
Brilliant. Yes, I've been to the first two and I enjoyed them very much.
Thank you. Can I ask, what was it?
What was it that I enjoyed?
Yes.
I enjoyed your enthusiasm.
Thank you.
I enjoyed the way in which, especially with the second session, you were able to ask what people wanted to learn, and then you were able to offer exercises which would cater to those.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel that this was an off-the-peg lesson that you just rolled out every 6 months or something like that. So that's why I enjoyed it.
Oh, wonderful, thank you. If I'm not quite sure whether or not it's down to my lack of being prepared or very many other things, but we had a very small class the second time we did it, and it was perfect. Now we can, instead of doing some big kind of God is in the room kind of thing, we just worked on specifically what everyone wanted to work on, which is something in which I pulled from a Jules Munn's class where he had 3 people in the room, and it's still today one of my favourite workshops I've ever done. It was just this beautiful thing of, okay, what is it that you want to work on? Because I think that's one of the things I like to work on in classes is what is it that you can go into a class with one teacher and come out and go, oh, that was fun. Or you can, sometimes people go and they have a class like the IO Intensive or David Wazowski or Susan Messing, any of the big teachers come over, or even Slapdash that just happened. You have these classes, and then when you play with the person who's been in the class next time, you see them as a completely different improviser.
That's true.
That they've got so much, not much more, but you see that they've completely changed. And you think they've only taken like a 3-hour workshop. How is it that someone's changed their entire methodology and also approach? So that's kind of what I wanted to go towards, is this, how can I get the most change into the shortest amount of time? And I'm not saying I'm the best improviser, but I'm saying that I can influence people to have confidence on stage, and I think that's something that some improvisers can be very technically skilled, but still have anxiety when they perform on stage. I mean, even I randomly tackle that every now and again. But it's just nice having that, being able to yell at someone to the point where they have an epiphany in their face, and you're like, yes, that was it. You saw it.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought you seemed unprepared during those workshops. It seemed that you had a Rolodex of like a million things we could do, and then someone would say, I need to work on this, and then we go, and then we'd have the perfect exercise.
I think that's one of the things that's really good about having really specialised, coaching, or because it was basically a coaching class, it wasn't really like an improv class, it was more like a coaching thing, was when someone says, this is something that I want to work on, and then you kind of get to ask them the question, well, what do you mean by that sticking point? Is that a sticking point because it's something that you just haven't done, or is it there's something that's behind that sticking point? Like, I play the same characters over and over again. Is that just because you don't trust yourself to play the characters that you see as outside your field of safety? Obviously, it's not going to go into names, but the person who specifically worked on this, there was this idea that they couldn't possibly play they gave an example of a drag queen. Because they've never done it. They don't understand it. How could they play a drag queen? So we got them to play two scenes. One where they were playing themselves, and another where they were playing a drag queen. And what he quickly realised was that this assumption that he wasn't aware of the philosophies and having a point of view as that character, and not in kind of like a caricature way of like, oh, I'm a drag queen, ooh, la-di-da-di-da. Because I think we very quickly snapped him out of that. It was this thing of, okay, I'm doing this, I'm an entertainer, but also I want to make people happy. It was this finding the grounding way to bring him back to, not to make him apply other points of view, but to realise that the only thing that was stopping him from starting an improv scene as what he believed to be a character is this idea that he thought they can do it. And it's about, a lot of times in improv, it's about the patterns. When you see someone just do when you play with someone a few times and you kind of see them play into the same scenes, see them play into the same patterns. So specifically for that kind of coaching in class, which I love to do, which we'll get onto a bit more later, it was, you have a distinct innate need to please the other person that's on stage, to find joy. And there's some people like, improv is super serious, or but you kind of, the reason how I get off on stage is I kind of bring joy, and the way that I bring joy is almost by playing out these patterns. So noticing that someone else has specific patterns, especially in coaching, means that they can break out those and then move on to something else. That sounds quite vague, but it tends to be how I end up thinking about it in class. Sorry, can I just ask, did that make sense? I felt like it made sense.
Made sense.
But it's one of those things where you kind of have a super cryptic teacher, and then you kind of come out the other end again. What? Actually, yeah. So that's if you want to come to Let's Make a Team, do that. I'm also going to try and launch a 4-week class, which is specifically that kind of very small group, very specific things to work on, just scenes and just knocking out as many scenes and working on those pans. That's going to be launched hopefully in either Christmas or the New Year, and it will be called You versus the Gauntlet. So look out for that.
Cool. And you've got a degree in comedy, is that what you said? Degree?
Yes.
What does that involve?
So basically, when I first started, I started doing stand-up in about 2011, and then my big epiphany was, because I was in this middle of, I was in Kent, but I was nowhere near any comedy clubs. I had to go to London every time I wanted to perform. So I decided to do a degree in comedy as this way of getting better. And what I realised is that I'm an absolute theory nut. So I was absorbing all this knowledge and not getting at all better as a performer. So I would do like random performances every now and again. And had this kind of interesting thing where I would knock out high firsts on my essays and my dissertation, and then when it came to actually acting, I was told during my first year of university I wasn't allowed to do accents by my lecturer. Everyone else was like going through all the acting modules and that kind of thing, and they were like learning about spines and all this other like drama schooly stuff, and I was literally, they were like, Josh, we haven't got enough time to work on you. So just keep doing what you're doing, and yeah, we'll deal with it later. And they never did, because like after those first few acting classes in my first year, I never took any more. I took comedic performance, which was clowning stuff, but I never took any more like straight acting classes.
Oh God.
Yeah. People who've like performed with me now are like, oh, that's why. They're gonna like perform me at Duck Duck Goose or any of the other improv jams, and then see, oh, that's why okay, fair enough, that makes sense.
So what do you do when you're on stage?
When I'm on stage?
When you're performing?
When I'm performing, this was the big thing for me, was when I first started performing stand-up, I kind of played into this idea of to what I thought stand-up should be. And you see this a lot with open mic comedians, and that they play into areas that they feel safe or that they feel are funny. And as a result, you get a lot of like comedians, like young or newer comedians, talking about they're single and they can't get laid, and it's almost like there's a like string of cliches that make up comedy. And it's the same with improv, really. There's a lot of like cliches that kind of come out initially when people start. So what I was trying to do was trying to find like a universal theory of comedy. So I read several books about there's several. Do you know much about comedy theory?
No.
Great. So there's a few different theories. The most popular one at the moment is benign violation, which is done by this fellow called Peter McGraw, which I think is a bolder comedy studies thing. What they do basically is there's a Venn diagram. So for people listening, you have to imagine there's a Venn diagram in front of you, and then on one side there is social violation, and then on the other side of the diagram there is something which gives you distance or makes it benign.
Right.
So as an example, there's the whole thing of like a friend hurts himself, but then a friend hurts himself by shooting himself in the mouth with a helium can, and then has a really funny voice for the rest of his life. There's a kind of, you can see there's something to it. The fact that they have a funny voice, I know it's just like weird semantics at the moment, but because there's a level of distance, it allows you to have this, to enjoy it. I mean, there's a kind of Schadenfreude element to it, and wordplay kind of works into it. The main thing about it though is that it kind of works on this semantic level of something plus distance, or was the one comedy is tragedy plus time?
Yes, tragedy plus time is comedy.
Yeah, so you have that whole thing of basically it's the context which something is placed into allows you to enjoy it. And it's simple. You've seen it with the various improv shows that you will see people who play and perform improvisation with completely different styles. They'll tell completely different jokes. Sometimes you can get a laugh out of someone just by twitching your eyes, and the fact that person twitched their eyes, the funniest thing you've ever seen in their life. Like the fact that they have this or that you see that they've been hurt really badly by the other person saying that they're leaving. It's like a really emotional thing. Or on the other side of the spectrum, someone, going very specifically with the C3 that happened last Sunday, Carlene grew a massive dick, and it was delightful. So the big thing that you kind of realise after spending too much time reading comedy theory is that there's like a massive sea of different theories. It's like a massive Venn diagram of all the different theories that every joke and every something that could be considered funny kind of falls somewhere into the dozens and dozens and dozens of different ideas of what can be considered funny. That taste is kind of in this massive map of circles of context. I think that's a really important phrase, circles of context, that something can be horrifically funny in one position and one environment, but then completely unfunny in another. So I tried to bring that on stage when I was at university, and have this thing where professional comedians or people who are performing or like arts and philosophy students would come up to me after the show and say, that was brilliant. And then everyone else in the audience would look at me blankly for the rest of the set. Like, for the entire performance, I'd be just stared at blankly like I wasn't doing anything right. And then people come up after and go, oh, you did the thing? And it was just, oh, blah, blah. And then you kind of have to ask yourself, okay, is it that I'm kind of secluding myself by trying to be clever on stage? And that's another thing that stand-ups have to like learn to, or they don't have to, but they can learn to distance themselves from, is this idea that I have to be clever on stage. And that's the whole disconnect between you as an actor on stage and then the character that you're performing, which is one of the things that we're doing in the Donald Trump thing, is this disconnect between the actor and the character. So you are allowed to be stupid, you're allowed to do all the things as an actor, but then in order to use that to heighten yourself. So when I first, bringing it all back round, Jesus Christ, I'm surprised anyone's listening. To you who are still listening, thank you. I would do a joke and then wonder why no one else worked out the punchline before I finished the joke, and then give up. So I found improv, which was like a nice workaround, because it was effectively taking me away from that creative process and just saying, right, park that, just be in a room with a person, just interact with someone, you'll find it. And then I started doing Comedy Spots Manchester with an incredible woman called Brianne Edge. If you're in Manchester, you should definitely look her up. She's incredibly good, incredibly good teacher. She's received the highest accolade that Comedy Sports can give out, which is like this master teacher certificate thing. So if you're in Manchester, check her out. I learned a lot from her. So that was where I kind of started approaching comedy, was I learned everything, and then once you learn everything, you realise how pointless it is to know everything, so then I threw that out. And now I kind of had to start again from scratch on the improvisation side of things. Long and short of it, if you're interested in comedy theory, just don't. Just don't. It's a well. It is a well that you go down, and it is hard to get back out of without becoming the person who sits quietly at the improv show or the comedy show, analysing the social, like why a dick joke is funny. It's like you play it so far like away from where you're supposed to be.
Let's go downstairs.
Okay.
We can continue downstairs. We can do some of the stuff in the lift.
Okay.
That's all right.
Sure. Do you want to do that?
Yeah. I don't think we've finished yet, but I'm supposed to be downstairs, so let's go downstairs.
Great.
And then we can, hopefully, we won't get too many people on the ride. So yes, so I'm on the door at the nursery tonight. So it's now 6:30, so I'm going to make my way to the door. But we're going to carry on the interview in the lift and on the front door. We're just going through the nursery door. I'm going to turn the light out. I think it's the other one. No, we turned an extra one on.
Great.
Josh, a good man in the storm.
This is going to make it into the final edit.
Yeah, probably will actually.
Wonderful.
Because, this is where we get the gold. This is where
improv happens. Hi, Jess. We're in a podcast.
That's all the popcorn gone.
It's
got yeah.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah,
I just got a taste for it. I'm like a man-eating tiger. Anyway.
A man-eating tiger.
Yeah, because once they've got a taste for human flesh, they never want to go back for anything else.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, apparently so. And I had some popcorn last time I was here because it was left over from the sponsorship by Propercorn.
Yes.
And
Propercorn sponsoring this podcast? Or?
Well, I tell you what, if they send me some podcasts, I'm more than
If they
happy.
send you some podcasts?
Send me some podcasts. Or some popcorn. If they send me a podcast, I'll send them some popcorn.
Hello,
which
welcome-
would seem a bad way around to do it, really, wouldn't
Welcome
it?
to the Propercorn podcast.
Do they need... yes. So, I presumed it had all gone, but, just thought maybe they've got a secret stash. Anyway.
It would not. I think it's actually, yeah. It's interesting. It's awesome that we're getting like popcorn sponsorship for improv festivals. I think that's insane in my eyes.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So let's go back to talking about what makes.
I'm interested in you as an improviser now.
Yes.
And if someone steps on stage with you, be it at Duck Duck Goose or whatever, what can they expect? And then also, you've got various two prompts that you're involved in. Look, here's Steve Rowe. Hello, it's everyone. Edgar.
Jesus Christ.
Hello, Bryn.
You try and do a podcast, and then you get three people. You get Steve Rowe. Okay. Steve Rowe's now pushing me to the floor and fighting his way towards the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is this recording now?
Yes.
Oh,
Steve,
hello.
put it down.
I've got the same microphone as you.
Have you really?
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
probably
but-
the most boring thing to say in a podcast. Talk about the microphone that it's made on.
We're both in the Zoom club.
In the Zoom club, yeah. What are you editing on? Audacity?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, both in the Audacity club.
Both in the Audacity club.
I've been listening
What
to
computer are you
podcasts,
using?
actually.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's good. I listened to the first one you did,
Oh, yeah.
and there's quite a few now, isn't there?
Yeah.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
You're the most
And
Now
then
you're in it. Now you're in it.
Oh gosh.
But this doesn't count as your own episode, though, because you have to have your own episode.
It's just
No.
gonna be like the outtakes at the end. Kind
No,
of.
well,
It's
if
not
you
really-
see me do improv, I usually tend to walk off stage and have sit down in the audience to do stuff anyway. So if anything, this just adds to the flavour of what I like to do on stage. So yeah,
It's freewheeling.
naturally I can't hold up my own scenes without getting someone else involved. I'm naturally expecting someone from C3 to just sweep the entire podcast at some point.
Yeah.
We're moving some stuff into the
Cool.
building.
Fantastic.
Do you know if there's a service link for loading?
No, this is the
I think it's just that.
Just this.
You're not gonna edit that bit out, are you?
No, I'm probably going to leave that bit in,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Not gonna.
I mean, I feel like Josh has been
just
usurped.
the break from improv form.
I've
Yeah.
even written the wrong course. I've just written the wrong course down.
Oh, it's okay.
You're just writing like the most unhelpful this was not correct.
So you're on the second
Wednesday.
floor,
Second floor, yeah.
right? Because I'm on the door.
Are you on the door?
So
Oh, okay.
you're on the second floor.
Yeah, we got a one-off thing happening.
Yep.
So all it is it's the normal beginners course. And we're usually in King's Cross, but we had to change it to here for one night.
Ah, right.
Which is the last night.
The last night.
Yeah.
So I hope I haven't annoyed them too much actually, because it's a bit of a cock up actually.
Well, King's Cross to here is pretty straightforward. Those straight up north line roads.
Yeah.
If they've checked their email, because they only sorted it out this morning, I think, or maybe last night.
Do you think we can send like a bat signal?
I don't
From
know.
the top of the building, it's like hoopla, into the.
Okay.
bat.
Yeah.
It's a very serious thought process about this.
Well, actually, we've probably got
Oh,
access
I
to the roof here, so it's not
Yeah.
entirely a practical. We just have to fashion a giant light.
Can we project it onto the side of the shard or something? We see the
Project
whole of
hoopla.
London.
Yeah, this is definitely not a joke. I've definitely thought about this because I was on top of what's that hill that overlooks London? Parliament Hill.
Sure.
I think there's one.
That's right.
Anyway, there's Parliament Hill overlooks London.
It's so fucking not that ill, but yes, of course it is.
No, there's one, or is it on Hampstead Heath? Anyway, it's one of those ones. And I was sat there on a bench, and I was thinking, oh,
Steve, you
how
sure
can we
you
get
got the
more
right-
people to improv? Yeah,
So, are you sure you got the right hill?
yeah,
Okay, so
I am now. Thanks to you guys. And then I was sat there, and I was like, oh, I wonder how you can get more people to improv shows because not many people come in. And then I was like, you can overlook London. And I thought, oh, we just need to have fucking like plane, just dragging the name around.
Oh, well, those
Or
big
lights.
airships.
Yeah, because you could easily market to the whole
Like,
of
rather
London.
than have Goodyear, have fucking.
Yeah. You need to market the sky of London. That's what. Like, that's
Yeah.
missing advertising.
Does anyone own the Sky of London? Or?
I don't know exactly.
We all
Probably
know.
like the Duke of Westminster or something like that. He owns everything else. I'm just reminding myself of when they opened up the Shard, they had the laser light display all down the Thames. And there was a picture, because it was all done up in green light.
Yeah.
It'll look quite ominous and scary. And there's a photo of somebody holding up a sign that said, "All hail Sauron." That was brilliant. Supposedly it was nicknamed the Eisen Shard.
That's a pretty clever name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love Steve's. He's a man with a post-it note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
Low
not
key.
afraid to use it.
Low key.
Low key. Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's actually Asgardian.
Yes.
What?
Tricks to God,
Yeah.
you.
What? I'm being what?
You post it.
I was just looking up. I was like, why haven't I got fucking one of these? Look, Ed, look what we need.
What do we need? Like what?
Piece of paper.
What do we need?
Nursery head of the game.
Oh, dude, I can get one.
Oh, right. It's the.
The nursery banner for those who are still. Jesus Christ, are still listening
Why
to
are you
this?
still listening to this? Don't you have anything better to go?
Oh, is this like the nursery?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna swear it's being recorded, but I've never been here before. The nursery. It's like.
It's been in different places.
Yeah.
Ah, right. Oh, so this thing just follows you around wherever you go. So it could be like in the tube station.
Yeah.
Or like,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
There's a dude who was here, and then he wandered off. But there was definitely a dude who came here. Sorry?
looking for a date.
Oh no, he'll come back.
Oh, is it a uniform or anything? Or
I don't. No, it wasn't.
It was just a guy who came and he
I
said,
thought he went up in the lift.
Oh, did he?
I think so.
I wasn't paying attention.
you didn't get the first floor?
oh, no, I thought you came out again.
I'll look for a
We've
fire.
been really
He's got
unhelpful.
me- he's got me delivery time, hasn't he?
Yeah. All right, Ed. See you later, guys.
See ya.
See you later.
It's still recording.
Still recording the podcast.
It's still recording.
Now features Jules Munn,
Oh,
Steve
yeah.
Rowe,
They're literally recording it right
Yeah,
now.
literally.
This is, the
Missing
great,
C3.
this is the greatest hits.
and the
of the
FA
improv
to shop
scene.
as well.
Okay, well, we do have to say wise stuff. Thanks, Steve. All right. Anyway,
No, we haven't said anything wise at all. So yeah, no, just
cool.
completely.
Just bullshit. That's my
Yeah.
favourite kind of podcast. Am I allowed to
Yeah.
swear?
You're allowed to do whatever you like.
Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Bye.
Where were we? Oh, what happens when two people walk on stage?
Yes. So what can people expect when they walk on stage and you're the other person on the scene?
What I'm probably going to do is look at what you're doing and then do something based on that.
Right.
That's usually where I start. I tend not to come in with some big kind of like I'm the king of Sweden or some other.
I remember what you were told about accents.
Yes, I was. For the person who's also now in the audience for the podcast, I was told at university not to do accents in my acting classes,
Okay,
which has debilitated me in so many ways.
sure.
But what I really,
Tell us about.
yes.
Tell us about. You're in some two provs at the moment.
Yes, I'm in two provs. So I'm doing one at the moment at Lady G, which is called J Squared with Joe, which is really interesting because we're going to do this kind of, dare I say, TJ and Dave thing, which is super interesting because there's no one who can do TJ and Dave. So what tends to happen is they kind of players come on stage with a set of rules. I mean, we did one of these shows already, and it turned out terribly, which is super fun. But you kind of come on stage and go, okay, these are the rules of how you're supposed to play the scene, and no one enjoys it because even the actors aren't enjoying it because everyone's literally just going, like both the guys on stage are going, okay, so you have said this, now I must say this. These are the rules of improv. We must improvise in this way. And the point is, you become so obsessed with what the other character is doing in relation to your character, you forget that you're here supposed to delight the other person on stage. So a lot of what I do when it comes to That Goose is I do what I will enjoy, and I also do what I think the other person will enjoy. That doesn't always lead to a super succinct thing. Like with myself, Liam, Brennan, and Leanna recently won an Improv 5-a-side, and it was beautifully discussed at the beginning, like, we're going to do a la ronde, okay, which means we're going to do this scene to this scene to this scene to this scene, then this will all come round. Within like 3 minutes of being on stage, we were just yelling and screaming at each other and jumping off chairs. And then when we did the second one, like I was sat in the audience, and then some hecklers joined in on as part of the performance as well, because it became weird because the guys who were on stage, they were doing some weird, it looked like a theatre piece. I'm like, oh, okay, so if it looks like a theatre piece, then there must be an audience. So got into the audience, then I basically realised that I was a heckler, and people started telling me to shut up, and it kind of turned into this big thing. I try to do what delights me. I think where my next big evolution as a performer is having the dials to say, okay, where can you start enjoying yourself, but then also adjust the internal like mixing board of weight and form and that kind of thing. So you're not literally just the guy who's really good at one thing. I think something that's really fun is when people walk on or they tag out, not having any idea or having any like way to heighten or add to the scene. They just really want to be a part of it. So they'll just like, that's what my father said. Tag, your father said that, and it's like, oh great, we've got to start a new scene. We've got to work out what's going on. But it's literally just the repeat of the last line.
So we should have a big finish.
Yeah. So song and dance routine.
Yes.
Yes. Mime, anything physical, object work.
Is there anything you haven't talked about that you'd like to talk about?
I suppose I could plug Let's Make a Team 3 is coming up. I've recently received word that some of the people who came to my workshop are now have been asked and invited to join other teams.
Wow.
And I've had thank yous because I tend to not add strings to the bow but work on the bow itself.
Nice.
So if you're thinking that you're doing improv and you're quite technically skilled but you're not really enjoying it, or you're kind of getting yourself too in your head, come to the class. I will yell at you like an American soccer coach, and hopefully it will lead to some evolution.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I made this.
That's improv!